Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to Top 10 Week here on Digital Caveman Presents. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with my top 10 Star Wars collectibles of 2024. The criteria for making my list is pretty simple. It has to be something in the category of Star Wars, and I had to review it in 2024. The only exception being is if I labeled it as a From the Toy Box review. Now, let's get into it! Here we have my honorable mention for the year, which is the GameStop exclusive Star Wars The Black Series. I'm going to call it the Duel of the Fates 3-pack of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Darth Maul. And all of these are reissue figures. The Darth Maul, of course, being the newest, who we first saw come out of San Diego Comic-Con this year as the exclusive Darth Maul and Sith Speeder. Since then, he's gotten this release along with a single carded release that does not have the soft goods cloak. Now, all three of these guys have the soft goods cloak, which, if memory serves, is the first time any of them have come with a soft goods cloak, even though Obi-Wan's been available at least one time, maybe a couple of times, and Qui-Gon 2-3 times he's been available, but apparently this is the first time those two have been available with soft goods cloaks, and the cloaks are okay. They're a really good effort from Hasbro, compared to, at least they're not plastic cloaks, rather. So I think it's that they're trying at Hasbro with the soft goods. These, of course, would have worked a heck of a lot better with some wire in them. But I'm pretty much giving up on Hasbro ever doing wired soft goods in an affordable line. But the Obi-Wan and the Qui-Gon are on, of course, older molds, and so that's one of the reasons why this pack ended up as just an honorable mention rather than on the list proper. I really would have liked to have seen all three of these figures updated and not just re-releases with better paint jobs on the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. But regardless, they did make the honorable mention, the GameStop exclusive Star Wars The Black Series Duel of the Fates 3-pack of Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Starting out the list proper at number 10, we have the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron B-Wing. And, of course, this vehicle's first appearance, not necessarily in the timeline, but the first time we got to see it was in Return of the Jedi back in 1983. It was cool, but I didn't think it was nearly as cool as I did once I got to play with that old Kenner B-Wing. Because, the features on it didn't have a whole lot of features. I think it had a noise feature, which at the time, was cool. But you look at it today and you're like, God, it's kind of lame. But, the wings folded out, and the cockpit was weighted so that no matter which way you turned it, it was always level, unless you turned it really, really fast. And the scale of it was a nice scale to the figures. And I won't say it was true to scale. It's probably not. But just, all those old Kenner vehicles were very, very detailed. And while not necessarily true to scale, they had a lot of playability built into them. And maybe that's why this one made the list, is because it just really, really reminds me of that. Even though it doesn't have a sound feature and the cockpit's not weighted. But for some reason, to me, I look at this and that's what I think of as that old Kenner B-Wing. So maybe the number 10 is just simply purely for nostalgia's sake. But there it is, my friends. Number 10, Star Wars on my list for the year. The Micro Galaxy Squadron B-Wing from Return of the Jedi. At number 9, we have the Star Wars The Black Series, Episode 1, Droideka, or Destroyer Droid, depending on which side, good guys or bad guys you're on. If you're Nemodian, it's a Droideka, and if you're everybody else, it's a Destroyer Droid. And I really like, for the most part, the way that they did this figure. It has plenty of articulation, great range of motion in that articulation for the most part. I just wish they hadn't wasted their time trying to engineer this to where it will turn into quote unquote a roller, or the rolling form of the Destroyer Droid as they're going into the battlefield or wherever it is that they're needed. And instead spent that money on tooling for just a piece that is the rolled up roller, or the rolled up Destroyer Droid, similar to what they did back in '99 with the Destroyer Droid. Although it didn't come packaged with that, it was packaged with some different stuff. But I really would have preferred them to do it that way rather than trying to engineer this guy in order to do that, because it just doesn't quite get there. And maybe that's just me. Maybe it's the fact that they didn't include any instructions on how to do it as well. You just kind of have to figure it out for yourself, or watch tutorial videos on YouTube, which is what I had to do, and I still don't think I got it right according to that. And I modified some stuff, movements and placements in order to get it to the best I could do during my review, and it just didn't live up to my expectations of it. But nonetheless, it did still make my list. It looks great, and for the most part it works great, except for that transforming into a ball feature. So there you have number 9, my friends, the Black Series, Episode 1, Droideka Destroyer Droid. Here we have my number 8 entry, which is the Walmart exclusive Star Wars The Black Series, The Mandalorian R4-6DO, which I will say, I was originally not going to purchase this guy, but I was purchasing something on Walmart.com, and I needed to make free shipping, and I said, what the heck, it looks kind of neat. And I'm so glad that I picked this up, because I think this is a really great entry into the Astromech line, or lineup, that we have so far. I mean, we've got R2-D2, we've got several R5-D4s at this point, And now we have R460O, and there may be one I'm missing somewhere. Excuse me. And apologies to that droid if I am missing you somewhere. But I really think this is great. And, you know, it's the only new part of it really is the head. And I think maybe one of the accessories might be different. But it's just the colors on this really, really makes it stand out from the other two. In my opinion, of course, your mileage may vary. And, you know, I said I wasn't going to go real deep into the Astromechs in the Black Series simply because of the cost. In 3 3/4, I went super deep. I have tons and tons of different Astromech droids, especially when they did the Builder Droid part. And I really would love for them to do that in the Black Series, except for the fact that they would put, you know, droid parts in figures from media that I really have no interest in getting. So maybe it's a good thing that they aren't doing Build-A-Droid pieces in the Black Series. But nonetheless, the coloration on this guy just really, really set him off. And, you know, the fact that it's Greef Karga's droid and you know, Carl Weathers is no longer with us. So now we have another bit of Star Wars Greef Karga, Carl Weathers to help commemorate that actor. And so, but yeah, it's really the deco on this one that sets it off. So if that interests you, hey, this might be a pickup for you. And if not, then you may have missed it already. I don't know. But it's my number 8 entry. Star Wars The Black Series. The Mandalorian R4-6DO. In the number 7 position, we have the Disney Store exclusive. I think it may have been limited supplies at Hasbro Pulse, but it was mainly a Disney Store exclusive. Star Wars The Black Series, Mace Windu, and the 187th Clone Trooper. And I will honestly tell you, I basically bought this pack just probably like everybody else did for the 187th Clone Trooper, because it just looks really cool. And not that I have anything against this Mace Windu. I like this Mace Windu, but if you have any of the other two Mace Windus, at least I think there's only 2 other ones, the Episode 2 Mace Windu and then the Clone Wars Micro Series Mace Windu, you know, there's no surprises here. It's an older figure. It has the older knees. The forearms are different than the Episode 2 version, but I do believe they're the same mold that are on the Clone Wars Micro Series version. And the only difference there being, I think, the Republic or the Jedi Tampo on one of the arms. But other than that, you know, this pack was really all about the 187th Clone Trooper, and which is, you know, the division that Mace Windu led. And you know, I mean, it's a clone trooper. It's other than the colorations on it, it's nothing that we haven't seen before, but it still looks cool. In my opinion, your mileage, of course, may vary. And I like this. And of course, Mace Windu is a cool character, and it's nice to have the Clone Wars animated, you know, the regular series, the full-length series, not the micro series. But it's nice to have that Clone Wars version of Mace Windu as well. So there you have it, my friends. The Disney Store exclusive Star Wars The Black Series, Mace Windu, and 187th Division Clone Trooper. At number 6, we have the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Target exclusive Sith Infiltrator. And it does come with a Darth Maul figure and a Sith speeder as well, both of which fit inside the main vehicle. It does have folding out wings, which is cool because that's a feature that the ship in the movie had. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, in case you're wondering which movie I'm referring to. And this has cool little features. You can open the quote-unquote hood of the vehicle up, and there's storage for the speeder bike in there. And then, of course, the top of the ball cockpit opens up to show the cockpit, which Darth Maul sits in. But there are seats for other figures as well. And then it's got a ramp on the back of the ball for disembarking and embarking onto the ship, and landing gears. And just the design of this is really, really cool. And I have the Episode 1 Sith Infiltrator, and the features on it are very, you know, toyetic, I guess you could say. Especially at the time, I think it had firing missiles, and the figure could sit in the cockpit. But it was really, really small, you know, compared to the figure. It wasn't even close to any kind of scale with that. But my biggest issue with it was that the landing gears were made out of really, really soft plastic, and in order to display it, you know, you have to put the landing gears out, and over time they do bend and sag and warp, and it sucks. But it shouldn't be a problem with this one, and really a very nice version of this vehicle, which, you know, all the Micro Galaxy Squadron stuff is very good. One thing I do wish about that whole line was that it scaled up better. But in order to do that, the ships would just have to be huge, or the scale would have to be like super, super small. So, but there you have it, my friends. Number 6 on my list for Star Wars for the year: the Micro Galaxy Squadron Target exclusive Sith Infiltrator. At number 5, we have Star Wars The Black Series Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Super Battle Droid. And, you know, this one can be used for Episode 2, Episode 3, the Clone Wars, so on and so forth, because, you know, they're basically all the same. Now, some of the game stuff, the colorations will be a little bit different. I passed on the Super Battle Droid and C-3PO Battle Droid 2-pack, knowing, you know, that they would do a single release of this, because I really honestly did not want this 3PO on the droid, the Battle Droid body. And, you know, I'm not a completionist when it comes to lines anymore. I tried that. It was not a great experience for me in the past, so I stopped doing it, and I just try to get the ones that I like, and I like this one, and I think it's a nice addition to this figure. That, like, the faceplate pops off, and then the chest pops off, and it really, you know, it takes you back to that Republic Commando game that at least I played it on the original Xbox. You may have played it on a different system, but that's the system I played it on. And so I think that's a nice throwback to that, where, you know, you damage the droid and those parts pop off. And I think the shoulders maybe could have used a little bit of extra range of motion, and maybe the hips as well, for posability. And I think there was, if I recall correctly, there was a spot where they could have put in a piece of articulation, but they didn't. But I may be thinking of something else. But I like this one pretty much the way it is. It works well. You know, it twists and it swivels at the elbows. And so you can get that shooting the gun pose for these guys. The blast effect that came with them, I don't really care for it. It doesn't really fit right, honestly, in my opinion. Your experience with it may be different, but for me it just doesn't fit right, and it bends the guns when you put it into place, and so I'm just not going to use that piece. But I do think it's a nice throwback to the episode 2 3 3/4 battle droids when those first came out. A lot of those figures had little blast effects with them, and the Super Battle Droid was one of them, and those worked really well. So why they couldn't get it to work really well on a larger scale figure, I don't know. But this is my number 5 pick for the year. Star Wars The Black Series, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Super Battle Droid. Coming in at number 4, my friends, we have Star Wars The Black Series, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Stap and Battle Droid, which really is a nostalgic bit for me, because this takes me right back to, I want to say 98 is when the set first came out. It was our Star Wars Episode 1 preview figure. This was before we even knew the movie was going to be called The Phantom Menace. And we got this as a preview figure and vehicle set, the Stap and Battle Droid, and the packaging reflects that. It throws right straight back to that original packaging. It might not be exactly the same, but it's very close, and I like this. You know, the Battle Droid's nothing new we haven't seen before, and you know, the Stap itself is pretty standard fare. It doesn't have a whole lot of articulated bits to it, but for what it is, it really works, and it really has that nostalgic feel for me. It takes me right on back to that excitement that I had over Episode 1, of course, before Jar Jar Binks. And that it was just the fact that a new Star Wars movie was coming out. And, you know, people want to hate on Phantom Menace, but every story has to start somewhere. And Star Wars starts at Episode 1. At least in the Skywalker saga, or whatever you want to call it, the prequels and the original trilogy. You know, that story, it started at Episode 1. So, you know, the first chapter in a book isn't always the most exciting. But I will have to say, over the years, my view of Episode 1 has changed. My view for it has become softer, and maybe that's because we've gotten Star Wars that is not Star Wars now to compare it to see, you know, Episode 1 really wasn't that bad. And of course, yeah, the Jar Jar is still annoying and all that, but I find that he's less annoying these days than some other material that we won't talk about. But this is my number 4 pick for the year for 2024 in Star Wars, and it is Star Wars The Black Series, Stap and Battle Droid. And what a great set. Alright, we're at number 3, so we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the list, my friends. But here at number 3, we have Star Wars The Black Series, The Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian Din Djarin, from Glavis Ringworld. And this is probably the best Mandalorian that Hasbro has produced. It has a soft goods cape, so it gets out of the way of the jetpack, even though it's maybe not the best cape ever, but Hasbro is trying, so I'll give them that they're trying. The deco, the colors on this guy, it just knock me out, which is the same as Mines of Mandalore. It's the same mold as Mines of Mandalore, except Mines of Mandalore doesn't come with a jetpack, and it has a rubber cape or plastic cone cape. But other than that, it's exactly the same colorations and all that. But I think this one just looks better. Number one, because it has the jetpack. Number two, the soft goods cloak really gets it out of the way of the jetpack. And probably the only reason this one didn't get higher on the list, and the figures ahead of this to me were better. But he does come with his vibro knife in his boot, but he can't hold it. And that's kind of an issue, at least for me. But regardless of that, he still made number 3 on my list. Star Wars The Black Series, The Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian Din Djarin from Glavis Ringworld. Almost there. Almost there. Oh no, it's just number 2, but that's okay because this is the second best figure of 2024 in my Star Wars lineup. At least what I looked at this year, what I reviewed this year. And it's Star Wars The Black Series, The Clone Wars, Ahsoka Tano Padawan. And this is her second look from the Clone Wars, which is fine. I really don't like that first look. It's a little, I don't know. I just don't like it. This is much better for this character, and I really like it. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get her to do the arms crossed pose, and actually she poses like that way pretty good. I don't know if that was intentional on the figure designer's part, but a lot of people complained in the show, the live action show, that Ahsoka crossed her arms a lot. That's all she did was, crossed her arms. But they forget that was a very Ahsoka thing to do, because she crossed her arms a lot in the Clone Wars. It's just something that the character does. So, not that I'm defending that show. I didn't hate that show. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. But this version of the character, this is, when I think of Ahsoka, this is the version of Ahsoka that I think of, because this is my favorites when she was still a Padawan. And yeah, officially she was Anakin's Padawan, but you might as well say she was Obi-Wan's Padawan too, because they went on missions a lot together, all 3 of them. And so she was learning from both masters, which was very good for her. But yeah, this is the version of the figure, or the character that I think of the most when I think of Ahsoka. And so I'm glad they finally made this version of the character, and it looks really, really good. And it's a nice mix between how she looks in the show and realism. So she doesn't necessarily look like the actress who portrayed her in the flashback scenes of the live action Ahsoka show, but it's a nice mix of how she appeared in the animation and a more realistic look. And I like that they do that with the Black Series, so that it all works together, and the characters flow together on your shelf, rather than having animated figures that look really, really animated. And I mean, there's some people out there, and there's something to be said for that as well. But in a line like the Black Series, I'm glad that they do it to where they all just kind of match up. And that's the way I like it. Your experience may be different. So, but there we have it, my friends. Number 2 for Star Wars on my list for this year, Ahsoka Tano Padawan, the Clone Wars version, Star Wars The Black Series. And here we have it. You finally made it, my friends, to my #1 Star Wars pick for the year. It is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Star Wars The Black Series Darth Maul and Sith Speeder set. And this is just like the Stap and the Battle Droid. Very nostalgic for me just because of the way it's packaged and how it's advertised, or at least, you know, on the packaging as Darth Maul and Sith Speeder, not the actual name of the speeder or anything like that. But it, you know, it really does throw back to 99 when we were getting all of this Episode 1 product from, I'm guessing it was Hasbro by that time. It could have still been Kenner, but I don't think it was. I think it was Hasbro by that time. And this set is very, very nostalgic for that, from the packaging to what it comes with. So, like the original one from 99, of course, the back of it opened up and it shot Probe Droid out like a missile. And this one doesn't have that feature, and that's fine. That was kind of a silly feature. But it does come with a Sith Probe Droid, and which is cool because in order to get some of these pieces, like the controller on his wrist, and I think a better cloak, there was an accessory set as well that came with some Probe Droids on a base with a clear post and a cloak, and his wrist communicator or controller for the Probe Droids, whatever you want to call it, the binoculars, you know, that stuff was a separate set. So I'm glad they kind of combined that together for this release. And to me, it really is a nostalgic piece, and it's cool. I love the fact that they you know, went retro with the packaging and all of that. It's just great. It just adds to how great this set is. And not that, you know, compared to maybe other companies' offerings of the same type of stuff, you know, Hasbro's stuff might not hold up, but it's a lot more affordable than some of that other stuff as well. But the Darth Maul looks nice, especially with it being the new mold. And I don't think we've ever gotten a Sith Probe Droid in the Black Series. And then, of course, we haven't gotten the vehicle in a while until this year for the Black Series. Of course, this year was this set and the Stap and Battle Droid set, which again was a very nostalgic set. But there you have it, my friends. That is my #1 pick for 2024 in Star Wars. The San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Star Wars Black Series Episode 1, Darth Maul and Sith Speeder. Well, that completes my Star Wars Top 10 for 2024. Did you agree with it? Disagree with it? Let me know in the comments, especially if you would have put something different on here. Well, that does it for the top 10 list. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view that I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I am now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you were in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both, that's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.